Welcome to a full no BS guide on how to grow taller. I'll be discussing tips for both people in puberty as well as people after puberty. Let's begin. Height is the pinnacle of a man's sorrow. This is something I genuinely believe because height is so pervasive in today's society. And I'm sorry if you don't agree with this statement, this video probably isn't for you. Now, if it is, let's discuss growth plates really quick. They close around 15 for girls and around 17 for boys. But our bodies are weird, they're strange, and our growth plates can close maybe around the ages of 25 plus. So the only way to know and to be sure is that your growth plates look like this on an x-ray rather than this with like a fine little fissure going through, indicating that your growth plate is still open. So you never know, you may be a late bloomer, stay positive. What you can do if you're in the ages of 13 through 17 to delay growth plate fusion or growth plate closure is to take three things. I don't recommend taking all of them and do your research beforehand, but there's resveratrol, which has been tested on female rabbits and it's safe for human consumption. It slowed growth plate closure and allowed the rabbit bones to grow longer, and this was proven in a study. There's also tamoxifen. There was a study that gave tamoxifen to teen boys ages 14 through 15, and they were given 10 to 20 milligrams twice a day, and they gained 10 centimeters over 26 months. And this was actually 10 centimeters over their predicted heights based off of their mom and their dad's heights. So quite a bit. And then we've got aromatase inhibitors. These block your estrogen receptors. And if you've got less estrogen, your growth plates are open for longer. There are natural means of doing this, like coffee, mushrooms, nettle, oranges. But also note that there are pharmaceutical versions, such as tamoxifen. Now, don't worry if your growth plates are closed or you're past the age of 17, we can still do something called bone remodeling. It takes a lot longer and it's not always guaranteed, but it is possible. All right, keyword possible. I talked about this in a previous video where orthodontics like braces, bad posture every single day, and even height growth surgery, like the concept of splitting a bone, keeping them separate and letting bone grow back in between that gap, all of them point to the idea that force always wins over bone. Force will always make bone obey and change shape. And one great example of this is Stephen Hawking. So at 29, great facial structure, but unfortunately he developed a condition called Lou Gehrig's disease, and his facial muscles could no longer support his skull. So gravity actually brought his skull downwards and inwards, resulting in this sort of a facial structure at the age of 76. Now, let's really quick discuss three people who have grown after puberty, just to see that this is possible, even if they are like case studies that have been handpicked out. So we've got Dennis Rodman, professional basketball player. He's 5'6" in high school, same like me. He graduated at 18, I believe, at 5'11", and by 19, he just had a massive growth spurt, all the way up to 6'7", some say 6'8". Pretty crazy stuff. We've also got Scottie Pippen, professional basketball player, 6'1" at the beginning of college, around 18, and 6'8" by the time he graduated. So a 7-inch growth spurt or not growth spurt, but just over 4 years. And this is well after puberty. And then we've got an even more extreme example, Rustam Akhmetov. You might have heard of him if you've watched a lot of these kinds of videos. He was a professional Russian high jumper, 5'4", 5'5"-ish at the age of 20, so well after growth plate fusion, supposedly. And by 23, he was 6'1", and he did this through mental belief as well as banded sleeping, and I'll be discussing that in just a second. So, disclaimer, things mentioned in this video should be done at your own risk. I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm not a doctor. Any injuries or damage caused to your body or your bones should be your responsibility. So be careful here. Please be careful. Tip number 1, banded sleeping. This is what Rustam Akhmetov, the Russian high jumper, did. And this is, in my opinion, the most realistic way to actually grow taller. It's essentially attaching elastic bands to the ankles right here, as well as under the armpits right here. Make sure you're comfortable and it doesn't cut off circulation. And you should start small, right? Small weight, small resistance, and sleep on your back to ensure proper spinal alignment. Now, there are pros and cons to this. It's hard to sleep with, especially at first. The first 2 to 3 weeks will be absolute hell. It'll feel like you're in some sort of medieval torture device. But if you can get past these 2 to 3 weeks, you should be in good shape. This is also hard to set up, right? You need some sort of bed frame or a wall attachment, and you'll need to use your imagination here because this isn't commercially available. No one's done like lab tests for this and developed a whole product for it. Also realize your spine's going to be vulnerable here. Your vertebrae are like this usually when you sleep, but if you do banded sleeping, they're going to be like this. So if you twist during your sleep, that could easily lead to spinal injury and back injury. Be careful here. Also realize if your elastic bands are super strong, you could tear muscle, ligament, or tendons. So be careful. The pros, however, are that you've got constant force applied longitudinally for 8+ hours a day, right? Your body's being stretched this way. Your microfractures will also be stretched out this way, and they're going to heal in a lengthened position. Now, tip number 2, sports and exercise. We've got swimming, basketball, and sprinting. Swimming removes gravity, so your spine and microfractures will uncompress. They're no longer going to be pressed right against one another. We've got basketball, where jumping produces microfractures, and there's also the idea of microadaptations, because every time you're jumping and you can't reach like the rim or the basket or the backboard, your body's going to register this and produce these microadaptations to help you reach higher and actually get to the rim or the backboard. Then we've also got sprinting, which when your legs hit the hard surface, you're going to produce microfractures in your leg, and you're also going to get a growth hormone boost by up to 2,000%, which will accelerate your healing as well as your growth. Now, continuing in this sports exercise thread, these are 3 helpful items: cycling, yoga, and bar hanging, but they are less ROI or return on investment. So, cycling, if you use a high seat, you've got a stretched out calf and thigh, and this allows the bone to grow more freely simply because the muscles aren't tight in your leg. Yoga does the same thing: looser muscles, less tension. So when your microfractures heal, they're going to heal without that compression. Lastly, we've got bar hanging. You've probably heard of this a lot, but it's only a temporary boost in height, but it does loosen the shoulders and back, so it may help with overall spine growth over a really long period of time. Less ROI, as I said earlier. Now, tip number 3 is kind of out there. It's called the law of attraction, LOA for short, and it's basically the idea that positive thoughts lead to positive outcomes. This one is out there, so please stay open-minded for the next few minutes. Now, the power of belief is incredibly powerful. I'll be discussing this in the next slide with the placebo effect, and even science doesn't fully understand it. But one of my favorite quotes from Einstein here is, "Imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions." Everything in this world, pretty much everything that we see, existed in someone's mind, and that person made it happen. There was some sort of vision, something in someone's imagination, like the computer I'm using, or the webcam I'm recording off of, or this water jug next to me, and someone made it happen. And if we can do that with our external world, why can't we do that with our internal world? Continuing with this, there's the placebo effect. It is real. Science has confirmed this, and it has been used in trials, such as clinical trials, where a doctor will provide medicine to 2 different people. We've got the actual drug here and the placebo, maybe like a sugar pill or saline. And when it's given to the person, they're both going to think, hey, I most likely got the drug. I'm going to believe that I'm being healed. And this actually stimulates healing on its own, even without the drug. We don't know if it's from hormones caused by hope or from anticipated relief. We don't actually know. But what we do know, and this is super important, is that it needs some sort of ritual. And this would be the exotic pills in the clinical trial, the strange procedures. We need some sort of immersion to fully convince both the brain and the body that some sort of healing is occurring. And we can use this for height growth. Now, half the battle is purely mental. This goes for most things in life. And so this is why the law of attraction works. And just realize that people have limiting beliefs, but those are their own. These other people that have limiting beliefs that are trying to impose those on you, both in the comments section or in real life, just realize those are their beliefs. You've got your own set of beliefs and they're not your problem, all right? What you need to work on is fully convincing yourself, both your brain and your body, that this stuff works and you should will it into existence. Remember, this requires some sort of ritual, just like the placebo effect. So, what I recommend doing is as soon as you wake up, write down, I am desired height. I am 6'2" is what I'm currently writing. Your conscious mind isn't fully awake yet, right when you wake up, right? For all it knows, this is your current reality. You are 6'2". Sure, your conscious mind will kick in like a few moments after or a minute after, but just realize that during this tiny sliver of a moment, your subconscious is awake and your conscious is actually offline. And your subconscious takes everything literally. It will genuinely believe that you are 6'2". And your subconscious is what drives LOA, the law of attraction here. Now, 2, you should write your height goal down and you should hang it up. Ideally, you hang several around your room, your house, and you just remind yourself every single day, every single hour, in some sort of positive way that you want to grow, that you are slightly taller than you are. And it should not be negative because this goes against the law of attraction. It shouldn't be anything like, frick, I wish I wasn't so short, or I hate myself, etc. So, tip number 4, slightly more tangible. All right. Thank you for listening to the LOA part, even if you didn't believe in it. This one is you are what you eat. So if you eat like shit, you'll grow like shit. Don't drink, smoke, or eat a lot of sugar. Just stick to meat and veggies, animal protein, leafy proteins. It's pretty much that simple. So here, carrots are your best friend. I'd suggest them because they've got high vitamin A, which promotes cell division. And if you know anything about cell division, it literally means you're growing. So that'll promote muscle and bone growth. Now, supplements aren't necessary. I'm not going to try to sell you on anything here. You don't have to buy these, but they do help, right? We've got cod liver fish oil. Take 1,300 milligrams a day. It's about 2 pills of this, and they're high in omega-3 fatty acids. This is the good stuff. You want to avoid omega-6 fatty acids. It contains a lot of vitamin A and D3. A, we already linked to cell division, and D3 gives you more testosterone, which we talked about earlier, keeps the growth plates open if you're still in puberty. And it's just good for building muscle and giving your body that good support for a better bone structure, even if you're past puberty. Now, we've also got boron, 10 milligrams. That's about 1 pill of this, healthy bones, pretty much. Now, tip number 5, don't become a dick. This is kind of off topic, but it's also part of the whole process, right? You want to work on your personality on top of your height. Your height isn't everything. You are a multifaceted creature, and you need your skills, you need an ability to communicate, and you need to keep your friends and family close and become a well-rounded person. Something to remind yourself of is that every day you wake up is a blessing. You get to wake up. You get to fix yourself. You get to improve, right? These are things you get to do, not that you have to do. If you're as tall as you want to be in 5 years, but you're still a piece of shit, you're going to drive everyone you love away, right? None of it will matter, not the height, not the aesthetics, none of that. You're just going to be as empty as when you started. So realize that height is something that'll help you get more status and maybe make you more you, but it shouldn't be the primary focus. Now, my parting words here are, I'm not trying to deceive anybody. This is stuff that I genuinely believe in, and it's stuff that I found and will implement, and I will update you as things go on. I realize that most people don't believe in growth past puberty, and kind of it relates back to LOA, right? The law of attraction. These are people with limiting beliefs. They're going to keep it to themselves, or even if they put it in the chat, it's their problem, not mine, right? I get to believe whatever I want to. So I'm currently 20 years old, 5'8", just for full transparency. I may be cooked, right? But I can't know unless I try. So I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to realize the universe is on my side. So am I, right? I'm on my own side. And with that, thank you for watching the video.